of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 25th, 2021.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal from the previous day.
So ordered. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. Introduction of House bills. The clerk will read the bills and their committee assignments.
House Bill 1364, Delegate Crosby, House Rules by order of Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 23, referred to appropriations.
Report of the Committee on Appropriations, report number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
We're missing a bill. House Bill 73, State and Local Government and Private Employers, Teleworking, Favorable Amendments, Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the committee chair.
yeah, the floor leader on this bill is not here, so can we move this till the end of this calendar to after other calendars? Thank you.
Sure.
My apologies.
That's okay. House Bill 73 has been moved to the end of the calendar. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 466, Higher Education, Student Identification Cards, Required Information, Favorable Amendments, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
There are 2 amendments. One adds a crisis center. The other one allows more flexibility for the campuses to add other phone numbers. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 718, State Coordinator for Autism Strategy and Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs, Mandated Appropriations, Favorable Amendments, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Please move this bill to the end of the calendar also.
House Bill 718 has been moved to the end of this calendar. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 756, Office of Legislative Audits, Acceptance and Investigation of Allegations of Fraud, Waste, and Abuse. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move to the end of the calendar.
Would you like to special order the whole report? Okay. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 887, State Debt Annuity Bond Fund, Use of Bond Premiums. Favorable.
The question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Is the floor leader here? I can't see. Okay.
Get it.
Clerk will read the first bill.
Did you special order? Yes. Okay. You got to get it up. It's not showing up in mine. House Bill 73, State and Local Government and Private Employers Teleworking. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker. So much to be considered the meeting, reading the amendment.
Recognizing the floor leader.
So much to be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment establishes the Office of Telework Assistance in the Department of Commerce to develop best practices and assist private sector businesses with teleworking. 2, establishes the Business Telework Assistance Grant Program to provide grants for the purchase of hardware, software, and services needed to implement telework policies. 3, authorizes a governmental entity of a county or municipality to maximize the number of eligible employees participating in a telework program. 4, specifies that a public institution of higher education must establish a telework program and adopt a telework policy and telework guidelines. 5, authorizes that criteria for designated telework positions may be negotiated by employees who are represented by an exclusive representative bargaining fiscal year starting fiscal year 2023. And 6, requires state agencies to report on the number of participating telework employees. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Floor Leader, thank you for bringing this bill. Of course, teleworking has become essential work for everybody. In many counties, the permits department, inspections and permits departments have had a difficult time modernizing. I'll say it that way, it'll be kinder. Does this bill have any provisions in it that would mandate that those I see this as a mandate on local government, so we're mandating that the counties do some things. Would this be part of that mandate, that their permits and inspections department find a way to utilize modern technology to help expedite those things for job sites?
Sure, and thank you for the question. Happy to clarify, the bill itself would mandate that policies be created, and if they're already practicing some form of telework and putting that practice on paper, it potentially would fall to them to then create or identify what works best for that department. So if they're having trouble, or it doesn't really apply in the same way it would to a office that does similar work in the same jurisdiction, they choose for themselves what is appropriate for their office. So to answer your question, it would require them to create a policy. It would not mandate that it has to apply or that they have to allow or have to make an employee in that department to telework, if that makes sense and answers your question.
Yes, somewhat it does. And finally, did you take out private business from this bill? Is this a mandate on private business?
It is not.
Thank you.
Are there any additional comments on this bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 718, State Coordinator for Autism Strategy and Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs, Mandated Appropriations. In favor of amendments, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 moves the position of the State Coordinator for Autism Strategy to the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. The amendment also strikes the specified appropriation of at least $86,100 and the requirement to increase the appropriation each fiscal year to reflect annualization and ongoing costs. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the Fable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Fable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 756, Office of Legislative Audits, Acceptance and Investigation of Allegations of Fraud, Waste, and Abuse. Favorable amendments, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 removes provisions allowing the Office of Legislative Audits to compel state agencies, local school systems, private corporations, and other organizations to provide any public and private records in an investigation. It also removes provisions allowing OLA to compel individuals to testify as witnesses under oath and to conduct and coordinate investigations with law enforcement agencies, including the Attorney General and the Office of the State Prosecutor. Amendment number 2 also removes provisions requiring state agencies to report to OLA any unethical or criminal conduct by agency employees, contractors, or other recipients of agency funds. Move the amendments.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the Fable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Fable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bills to us?
Madam Speaker.
I see you there. I will be calling on you. Okay. The gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just have some questions for the floor leader.
Yes, sir.
So those are pretty substantial amendments.
Yes.
I think I kind of heard them.
Okay.
The public school part, could you explain that?
Well, that comes up because when this bill was originally drafted, it included the Office of Legislative Audits working with all these agencies and requiring things that were not anticipated and had consequences that were not anticipated. So what we did was we removed those sections from the bill, those provisions, and now we've put in the bill that the OLA will work with those agencies in the interim to come up with different provisions next year.
So I appreciate that. So I would really like to read the amendments now that they are hopefully getting them put into the bill so I can see what the bill reads. Is there a way would you be acceptable to or amendable to special ordering this bill to the next session?
Yes, Madam Speaker, that would be fine.
Question for the House is to special order House Bill 756 to the next session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill has been special ordered.
Thank you.
Report of the Committee on Environment and Transportation. Report number 10. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 248, Condominiums and Homeowners Associations, Rights and Restrictions, Composting. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As amended, House Bill 248 prohibits a recorded covenant or restriction in the bylaws of a condo or HOA, a homeowners association, from prohibiting or unreasonably restricting an owner's ability to compost for personal household purposes or to hire a private contractor to do the composting for them. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies that reasonable restrictions on composting activities may be included in the recorded covenant. Amendment number 3 requires that a lot owner in an HOA engaged in composting for personal or household use on land owned or subject to the exclusive use of the lot owner must observe all the state and local laws and regulations. And Amendment number 4 strikes language limiting restrictions and barring the prohibition of composting for personal or household use. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 541, Montgomery County Residential Property Sale, School District Information. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 784, Residential Construction, Electric Vehicle Charging. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much we consider the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
As amended, the bill requires a builder or a builder's agent of a specified new housing unit to provide each buyer or prospective buyer with the option to include some form of level 2 charging in their garage, driveway, or carport. Okay. The committee amendment simply alters the definition of what a level 2 charger is. Move adoption of the committee amendment.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question now is the adoption of favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title?
Madam Speaker.
I see him there. Okay. I had to say what I have to say, okay? All right. The gentleman from Western Maryland. The gentleman from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Floor Leader, you said that this applies to specified construction. I think that was your wording, specified construction or specified housing units. What particular types of housing, new housing, does this requirement to offer the electric charging option apply to?
Well, it would have to be a house that has a garage, a carport, or a separate driveway. If those conditions aren't met, then the bill wouldn't apply.
Okay, so something, like an apartment building that doesn't have its own separate garage wouldn't apply, but if you had a townhouse complex where each one had a driveway, even without a garage, it would apply. Anything that's a single-family residential house that would have their own driveway or their own garage, you have to offer this option. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, in an apartment, you're not buying, so.
Okay. And so my concern, and I guess I don't know if the committee considered this, I just wanted to ask before we consider moving it to third reader. There are lots of parts of the state that would not have the capacity to do this. So I understand in larger urban and suburban jurisdictions that, maybe the grid is already built out in these areas. But in some of the areas of the state, particularly where I live, if a builder was building a new single-family home in a particular area, there may not be enough. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't live in a terribly rural section of my county. I have a difficult time getting modern internet services and broadband services because of the topography and because of some of the unique features of our geography. I'm just concerned about extending this requirement for the option to all builders of all homes of this nature statewide. Is there any way for people to opt out of this if they determine that it's not feasible to extend the grid and that level of power, or do you just determine that, hey, we can do this for anybody?
Hold on a second. Well, the bill doesn't specifically address that. I will say that in my geeky examination of electrification, it would be very, very unusual for a grid not to be able to support overnight charging. And again, just to remind the body, this law only requires the offering of an option, not the mandatory build-out. Okay. I just don't think I really just don't think it would be a problem for even for any grid operator.
Is there some type of standardization offered by the bill, or will an agency adopt regulations pursuant to it that will tell the builder, hey, this is a standard packet of how you offer the option, or will each builder be able to come up with their own plan? Because I know sometimes builders have a concern about that if they don't want to violate the law and they're not really understanding what exactly they have to offer.
I mean, we defined what level 2 means, and for the body, let me explain what that means. You know that 240 volt plug that you'd plug your washer dryer into?
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, it's bigger than the one that you plug your cell phone into. That's basically what a level 2 charger is. It's the same amount of voltage amperage as what your washer dryer consumes. And that's the reason why I don't think it's going to be a grid problem, because grids are designed to accommodate washer dryers, refrigerators, HVACs, and electric charging would be about the same as a washer dryer.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Prince George's in the annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to have the opportunity to expand upon the answer for the gentleman's question. This is a scenario where if you are, for example, when I was in that model home selling new options, if there was a request from a buyer to purchase an option, this would have to be offered. Now, what the question is asking is if it was not available in the area, similar to septic systems or public water and sewer. If those options are not available in that area, they will not have to be offered and could not be offered by the builder. So those types of issues would not arise if they could not be offered in that general area. And this is simply offering an option for someone walking into purchasing a new home, and the builder would have to offer this option. And geographical scenarios would always be taken into account. And I just want to expand upon the answer to the question, for the gentleman's question. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker. Recognizing the gentlelady from Carroll.
I'm not sure if I can ask the person who just spoke a question, because he just brought up a question to my mind over in the annex if he's available. You mentioned about options, or maybe the chairman can answer. What other options do we mandate for construction on new homes?
Let me find out. I don't believe we mandate any other options. It didn't come up, so we didn't really look into it that intensively. But for right now, let's assume that we don't.
Okay. I just think this is sort of a precedent setting that we're mandating that builders put certain options. I mean, do we mandate they put in flush toilets? I mean, I'm sure maybe that's part of MDE requirement. I don't know. But I just think it's something we should think about.
We do not mandate flush toilets.
Okay, well, I'm just asking the question. It just seems unprecedented that the state law would mandate what someone offers in a home. I think it's a great thing to offer these different options because you can make money on them, but it just seems like we're heading down a path I mean, I'm not going to hold the bill up. I'm just going to maybe vote against it because I don't think we should be dictating what options we should be providing in new homes.
You know, this isn't in real estate law, but for example, in insurance law, I spent a lot of time on the committee that regulated that. We have a lot of mandated benefits where if you are buying insurance, you can, you can ask for this coverage or that coverage. So it's not unheard of for public purposes, for public policy to mandate an option.
I don't disagree. That's health insurance, and this is mandating what options will be available in a new constructed home. I think it's apples and oranges. I just think, I'm not sure why we're this body in this day during a pandemic is mandating that we put a certain thing to offer in a new home construction. It's just good marketing policy, and I just think we should think about what we're doing here. Thank you.
Well, we did think about it, and in our effort to promote electrification, we feel that this non-mandatory option is something people of Maryland ought to have. Madam Speaker, I know that the floor leader would like to, the subcommittee chair would like to come and talk about this. So if I could, I'd like to special order this bill to the end of the business today. End of this calendar, special order.
Yes. House Bill 784 is asked to be special order to the end of this calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The bill has been special ordered. Special order calendar number 31. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 449, Family Law, Marriage, Licenses, and Records. Favor report adopted.
The maker of the motion is a gentleman in the annex from Washington County. Okay.
Madam Speaker.
Minority Leader to give us some time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to special order the bill until the end of the work this session. Never mind. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts.
Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
Thank you for hearing this and being gracious the other day to let us come back. I also want to thank the chair of the committee as well. I have an amendment at the desk. It's Amendment 243523/1.
Amendment number 1.
Thank you. So moved. The reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
What this amendment simply does is instead of on marriage licenses having person 1 and person 2, it allows the person who wants the marriage license to choose whether they be husband or person 1, wife or person 2. And I think we all in this assembly can support the idea of choice, and this would be an easy change to make, so I move the amendment.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd ask the body to resist the amendment. This all has to do with the application to get a marriage. The entire application is actually laid out in statute. And after we successfully passed marriage equality in 2012 at the ballot with the majority of Marylanders standing up for marriage equality, this part of the law was not edited. That is what the delegate from Anne Arundel County's bill would do. It would just simply change it to Party 1 and Party 2, consistent with other areas of the law. So I'd ask you to resist the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to press the amendment. I do believe that we could have both together. You get a husband and wife, or person 1 and person 2. Easy to make the change. This allows people to choose. One other thing to consider on this amendment is that when people go to look at marriage records, from the beginning, you could look and you could see who the husband was, who the wife was, and now you would just have person 1, person 2. You wouldn't really know moving forward. This would allow the people who are getting married the choice, the option to put how they'd like to be registered. So when people look back in history and they see the union of these two people, they would be able to see exactly what they wanted to be known as. So again, I press the amendment.
Committee Chair.
Again, I'd ask for the body to resist the amendment. What his amendment would not allow is for the application to say husband and husband or wife and wife. And we already fought this battle in 2012, and the people who stood for equality won. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Maker of the motion.
I'd like to withdraw the amendment and offer another amendment. I have an amendment at the desk. It's Amendment 213225/1.
Amendment number 1.
This amendment addresses the concern that the chair just brought up. And instead of saying husband or party 1, this amendment says that it's husband, wife, or husband 1 on line 1. And then on line 2, it would be husband, wife, or party 2. I think this would take care of the concern that the chair just brought up.
Recognizing the committee chair.
We'd ask for the body to please resist this amendment. It's inconsistent with the rest of our law when it goes to marriages, as we determined in 2012 at referendum. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman, maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment that was just brought forward is consistent with Maryland law, and it allows people to have choice when they go to get a marriage license. And it allows historians to be able to go back and see how people registered. I don't suspect, if we allowed husband, wife, or party 1, that many people would pick party 1 and party 2. They would probably pick husband or wife. And so with that, I move the amendment.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Any other amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is. Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 784, residential construction, electric vehicle charging. Favor report is amended, adopted.
Committee Chair.
If anybody has any questions, the expert has arrived.
Madam Speaker.
I thank gentleman from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Floor Leader rise for a question, please? Oh, he's up there. Okay.
Yes.
How you doing up there? I can't hardly see you.
Floor Leader.
I'm out of breath.
On this bill, does this apply to like multiple family dwelling residential units also?
No. This bill is simply for single-family construction and townhomes for new construction.
Okay.
You walk into a model, you offer, and you want to purchase an upgrade. That is all that this bill does.
So if a developer is doing a big development with 25 or more houses, does this require that developer to put these in that development, or when he sells the house, he can give them the option to install it once they buy it? Is that the way this works?
This does not require the developer to install anything without the purchaser purchasing that option. The developer simply has to offer that as an option, just like when you walk into a model, and if you want to have a sunroom added onto the back of your house, that is an option that the purchaser must pay for. And that's simply what this bill does.
Right. And so my question is not, and I'm not in opposition to doing this kind of thing, but what would it cost for a developer to install this, and what would the homeowner have to pay? What would be added to the cost of a house for this particular option?
What the cost that is required for the installation, as indicated by this bill, would be borne by the purchaser.
What's the cost?
Well, what is the cost? I don't have an answer to the cost.
In round numbers.
Because, again, the purchaser is going to pay for it when they get the house built. And I see this.
Right.
I see the.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at is if you buy a house that's already constructed, and that house is for sale, and you go look at the model, or not even look at the model, you buy the house, and then it's not in there. The builder didn't put it in there. What it would cost to add that?
You do not have to get this option.
Let me try this.
Yeah.
So in the old days,
Recognizing the committee chair.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. In the old days, when I used to go to NCSL, the state of Maryland would buy a coach airline ticket for me, and sometimes I'd upgrade it to business. We didn't know. I mean, it really depended upon the price. And so what we're hoping to do with this bill is to give consumers the option to purchase or not purchase, and then maybe after a couple of years we'll see what the averages look like. It may be so expensive that nobody will choose the option.
Yeah.
Or most likely it'll be kind of moderate, because if you think about it, wiring is cheaper when a new house is being built than to call an electrician to specially wire your garage for a washer dryer plug.
That's exactly the point I was trying to get to, Mr. Floor Leader. If the house is already built, it's going to cost more than if this was being done while they were building the house. So is this option offered to the homeowner? If for a homeowner that's contracting a builder to build his house, he can work this all out in the price when he's negotiating the price. But after the house is built, you go buy a new house. Then if that person wants to buy that option, it's going to cost them a lot more. Wouldn't that be the case?
Yeah, that's right. So that's why we want to give the initial purchaser the option.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Anne Arundel in the
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader ask for a quick question?
Yes.
Thank you. So there are some new development or condominium that don't have the garage attached to the house. They usually have like storage on the side, or they have multiple garages connected. Does this bill require them to also offer the option in the detached portion of the house that is deeded to them but it's not attached to the house?
Well, again, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the full question.
Okay.
Are you speaking about condominiums?
I'm speaking to condominiums, townhomes, whatever, multiple residences where they build 20, 40, 50, and they have garages that are not attached to the dwelling itself. But you can still park your car in the garage where there's multiple garages on the other side, and then you can walk over to your house. So the question is, does this option have to also apply to garages that are not attached to the actual house they're purchasing?
It would, just like a carport for a single family, and the same type of scenario would apply to a condominium unit.
So do they all have to agree? So if you have 10 units that are attached, 10 garages, does everybody have to agree, or doesn't that raise the cost? Because if only one person wants to
I'm
get
having
that
a very
option-
difficult time hearing your question. I'm sorry.
Let me try to answer the question. Basically, this would only apply if there is a separate...
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This would only apply if there is a separate garage, carport, or driveway. So if you have 10 townhomes, I once had a townhome where I didn't have the ability to park in a garage or anything. I had to park on the street. It wouldn't apply in that instance.
Okay, I'm just a little concerned that this will also raise the cost, because if 5 people want to get the plug or the option and the other 5 don't want to get the option, that's going to raise the price on that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I don't see how that could happen.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
I don't know who got on first. I'm just going left or right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Floor leader, a couple questions.
Yes.
So I was listening to the committee chairman. We were talking about what are the options that we mandate on new construction. And I know we do mandate some options for safety reasons, like sprinkler systems. But do we mandate any other options, like 3-phase electric? We don't mandate 3-phase electric, correct?
I do not believe that we do, correct. 3-phase, no. But it is available. It is available as an option if you wanted to upgrade your system. For example, if you wanted to have an additional dryer put into your basement, you could ask the builder to put that in as an option. That's correct.
Absolutely. And the same with like a water purifier system, correct? We don't mandate that. But you could ask to have one put in, correct?
You could ask for a water purifier system to be put in. That is correct.
And the same thing with like geothermal. If you wanted to use geothermal instead of a normal air handler, you could maybe get a quote and ask for that to be put in, I would think. What about solar systems, solar panels? Right? You can ask for this to be put in, but it's not mandated. Why would we force the option of being offered the electric chargers if we're not going to mandate those other items I just listed off? I'm just wondering about the policy decision behind it.
Well, the purpose of the bill, as you can see by the title, the purpose of the bill is to make sure that we do have these options available, and we're trying to make sure that we get to energy efficient scenarios, and this is one of the ways that we're coming to that position.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Committee chair.
Yeah, let me just answer directly the question of why we would make this as a mandatory option. A majority of the members of our committee feel that electrification is a good public policy for the environment, and we know that a thing that is holding people back from buying electric vehicles is the ability to charge up conveniently. And so what we want to do is give Maryland consumers the option to do that if they want to, and we feel it promotes a public policy of fighting global climate change and cleaning up air quality. That was the motivation behind a majority of the committee supporting this. And again, it's not a mandate, it's an option.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Queen Anne's and the Annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the Florida leader please rise?
Yes.
That's your question.
Florida leader.
Just real quickly, if I'm a builder and I don't want to do this, this is not it's just like a hot tub. I think a couple gentlemen before me mentioned that if I don't want to put a hot tub in, let's say, as a builder, and I refuse to do this, I have an option, but I just don't support that. How will that be handled?
And again, I'm having difficult time hearing on that side. So your question is, if the option is not provided by the builder, is that what you're asking?
If I am a builder and I choose not to offer this, I sit back and say, that's not my area of expertise. It's the same thing as if somebody would come up to me building a home and say, hey, I would like to put a hot tub on. I say, that's not something we do. I don't want to do that. It's not a business I'm in. And I refuse to offer this option because it's just not my forte. What happens to me? Am I violating something?
Well, first off, let me explain that this option is simply an electrical option where any qualified, certified electrician could install when the house is being constructed with no problems whatsoever. Now, the question that you're asking is what happens if the builder doesn't offer it? It's like any other scenario when you purchase a new home. If you go to purchase a new home and you have some disputes or some concerns, then there are always avenues where you can address your concern. This bill, however, is simply related to electricity and electrical charging stations.
It is electricity, it is something, but it is not something that's going in every home. It's not something like saying I want an upgrade to something. It's allowing me to be specialized. I have to provide a specialized option, and I don't want that in my business portfolio. If I refuse to say that's just not something Steve Aarons Homes will do, what is the penalty? Am I required? Am I going to be, I don't know, is this a misdemeanor, a felony? What's the ramifications to me?
Well, and as I indicated previously, if you are purchasing a new home and you have a problem with the builder, there is a builder's fund that you can request that some...
Will the floor leader yield?
Yes.
There's no penalty in the bill.
So what's the purpose of the bill? If I could just
the purpose of the bill is to promote clean energy and electric vehicles. That's the public policy purpose, and to do so without imposing a mandate.
So I guess my question is, if I don't want to do this as a builder, it's just not an option I want to offer. Like I don't want to offer anything with a hot tub. I can still do this and don't worry about it. I can walk.
We would have to come back as a legislature and impose a penalty.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Howard from the gallery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader rise for a question?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with the fact that I actually am the proud owner of 2 electric vehicles. Just want everyone to know that. So my question to you, though, is now have you thought about, or was it discussed in the committee, about installing 2 electrical panels if you had to do this? Like what happens if the load is too much on one panel? You have to actually have 2 electrical panels to have your dryer and all your other electronics, and then also this?
In those types of scenarios where you are asking for an electrical charging station, as in this bill, and the power grid cannot support that electrical power station with the 2 panels, then the builder would not have to offer it because the power grid that you're attaching to cannot support it. And again, I go back to the example of the water and sewer scenario that I explained when I was over in the annex. You don't offer public water and sewer when you're on a septic system. And the same thing would apply here. If your power grid cannot support it, you would not have to offer it because you cannot put that in.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. So I spent about 5 hours this weekend installing this for my wife's car. And it's a pain in the butt to do after the fact. I'll just tell you what, I have marked up hands from doing it. So it was referenced many times that this is similar to plugging in a dryer. Do you know about how long does it take to dry, a load of laundry?
That's not relevant to this legislation. I guess you got a question that's going to follow up with that. I'll wait for your follow-up question.
Perfect. So I do a lot of the laundry also. So it's about an hour to dry laundry. How long does it take to charge a car, maybe from 0 all the way up to full on one of these phase 2 chargers?
Again, that's not relevant to this bill, but I'm assuming it's a follow-up question. I'll wait for the follow-up question.
No, that's the final question. I'm not as smart as you think I am, I guess. So the question is, it's related to a dryer, which might be on for an hour. Now, so for example, my house, we have 2 electric cars. They're going to be on for 10 hours each overnight. Does that provide, I know there's another question before about providing an additional load on the electrical grid. Have we thought about the additional load on the electrical grid for that?
And again, as I indicated previously, if the power grid that the home is being attached to cannot support the additional pull on the electrical circuit, then the option does not have to be offered because you can't get that much power from the grid.
Okay, I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, let me...
The committee chair.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the bill as amended, the Maryland builders are fine with the bill.
The gentleman from Cecil County and the Annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader please yield for a technical question?
Yes.
Floor leader.
Yes.
I just wanted to know where in the install does the install stop on the builder side? So as you know, there's multiple car companies out there that are offering electric cars. They have different styles of chargers, plugs, regulators, etc. I can't plug my Tesla into a Chevy Charger. So are you just providing an outlet, or are you actually mandating that they have to use the peripheral devices?
And that, thank you for your question. That goes directly to what the amendment offered. As the chair of the committee read earlier, the amendment makes it a universal connection because you mentioned Tesla. I was not going to mention a specific manufacturer, but the amendment that was put forward that has been offered was put in by Tesla to take care of that specific question you just asked.
Okay, thank you. And I have a follow-up question, if I may. Is there any consideration given for off-gassing in confined spaces and the number of air changes in this bill?
A consideration for air changes. You're talking about air conditioning systems here.
Yeah. So in other words, if I'm charging a battery in a confined space, lead acid is one of the worst offenders, even though most vehicles don't use lead acid.
I understand your question specifically.
Okay.
And again, as we said earlier, these electrical charging stations are installed by licensed electricians. If the licensed electrician deems it necessary to add additional cooling stations or cooling systems to it, which I highly doubt, because again, this is just a plug-in, okay? This is not a room full of 1960s computers. It's simply a plug-in. If the electrician deems it as necessary to have additional cooling systems, that would be discussed with the builder prior to offering the option, so that the new purchaser would know upfront what it takes to put in this electrical station or plug-in. But that is highly unlikely. Again, this is just a plug-in. It's not a 1960s room full of computers where you need all these cooling stations. Yeah, it's a plug-in, like a dryer.
Respectfully, I'm not asking about the heat load. I'm talking about the gases that are dispelled during the charging process and the ability to do air changes with fresh air so that the space doesn't become a IDLH condition.
With all respect, sir, this would be the same type of gases dispelled by plugging in a dryer.
No, there's a chemical process that occurs when a battery is charged, and that chemical process gives off gases. And if those gases reach a certain concentration level, they can be toxic to humans. It has nothing to do with heat.
Well, again, sir, this bill is about a plug-in charging station. Simply a plug-in charging station. That's it.
Okay.
Like a dryer, plug-in.
All right, I appreciate those answers. I just have some concerns. Oftentimes, builders are not savvy on these processes, and if there was a confined space or an airtight space where someone was charging this vehicle, it could create a situation where someone could get poisoned. So I have some reservations on the bill, but I appreciate you answering the questions.
And just to follow up, in all cases, when builders apply for permits, this goes through the permitting process within the jurisdiction where the permit is applied for. That's number one. Number two, when permits throughout the state and the nation, quite frankly, are put together, there are criteria that must be followed when putting in additions to a building. So all of these things are taken into consideration as part of the building permit process. I do appreciate your question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing Majority Leader.
I move to special order.
Question before the House is to special orders House Bill 784 to the appropriate time later today. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill has been special ordered. Quorum call before recess.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 134 members present, the House is still in session. Recognizing Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand recessed for 15 minutes.